This is Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.
I shudder thinking how the world can be so cruel. Lend my voice to those who can't. It's time we try, it's time we care, it's time we stand. It starts with a voice.
Welcome to the Special Chronicles podcast. My name is Daniel Smigowski. I'm the founder and host of Special Chronicles, an athlete leader of Special Olympics Illinois, and a former Southern Shriver Global Messenger. Our website, specialchronicles.com. To follow Special Chronicles on socials, subscribe to our newsletter, find the show notes for this episode, and much more on specialchronicles.com. This week on the Special Chronicles podcast series, we'll recap a recap of Turin 2025, where we recap the recent Special Olympics World Winter Games. And our guest is Kellie Matthews from who competed with Special Olympics USA in Alpine skiing. So please put your both hands together as we welcome Kellie on Special Chronicles. Welcome, Kellie.
Thank you.
It's good to have you on the program, and excited to hear about the gold medals that you just received at the World Winter Games that we'll get to in just a little bit. But first, can you start by introducing yourself to our listeners and tell us a little bit about your journey in Special Olympics?
Hi, my name is Kellie Matthew. I live in Florida, and I have two sisters and one brother. And how I got in Special Olympics is one day my mom decided to put me in Special Olympics since I was 9 years old. But first, I did competitive swimming for 3 years.
Awesome. So you've been involved, as you said, in Special Olympics since you were 9. What inspired you? I know you said that your mom first got you involved in Special Olympics, but what else inspired you to get involved in this movement in Special Olympics?
By seeing people with disabilities and learning new things and overcoming obstacles.
Awesome. I think that's for a lot of us athletes. I think that's a big reason why a lot of us have gotten involved in Special Olympics. And so, what you said that you're from Florida. So what is it like growing up in Cold Springs, Florida, and how did Special Olympics play a role in shaping who you are today?
It was fun and it's very hot. So we don't live in like snow, basically. So we're in the hot sun every day.
Awesome.
It's, I would say, different because we went to different parks and stuff. So
Awesome. Like, I talking about Disney parks or other types of
Disney parks.
Disney parks. Awesome. So we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll get into your experience at the World Winter Games and what it was like to prepare in Florida to compete in alpine skiing. And so our guest is Kellie, who competed with Special Olympics USA, and we'll be back after this short break to hear about her experience in the her experience at the World Winter Games in Italy after this short break to let all let you all know how you can support this podcast. This episode is brought to you by listeners like you. Please join our supporters with a monthly or one-time donation so we can operate our studio, continue our mission, give respect and voice to people with disabilities. Visit specialchronicles.com/give. That's specialchronicles.com/give. If you want to access bonus content, like the pre-show of what it's like to right before we started recording, you can access our pre-show and other bonus content by joining Special Chronicles Plus. You can join now at specialchronicles.com/plus. And back to the show. So I'm glad you gave our listeners an introduction of where you're from, and I'm sure let's now take our listeners back to when you were preparing for the World Winter Games. What was your preparation like, and how did it feel to represent Special Olympics USA at such a big event? How did you prepare in Florida for to compete in alpine skiing?
We train in a park where we like slide on tarp, which is a big tarp, but also I did a lot of dry land training. Went to Copper Mountain, went to Breckenridge, did a lot of different terrains, learning the different terrains, figuring out what works and what doesn't.
Awesome. And alpine skiing is a pretty exciting sport. How do in with living in Florida? How did you get started in alpine skiing? And can you talk a little bit more about what that training process was like?
So, like, after swimming, I decided I wanted to try something new, something different. So, after I finished swimming, I started to do um, alpine skiing because one of my coaches started alpine skiing. And I like it because it was different than what my normal routine is.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's really the same for a lot of us athletes. We I I got started swimming 20 years ago, and then over the years I've evolved into other sports. So I think a lot of us like trying one sport and then trying something new. Now, as we after your training, you went to Turin, um, Italy for the World Winter Games. What did it mean for you to compete on the world stage? And can you share some memorable moments with us from your competition and the overall experience?
It was different, but also it was like a life changing moment because of the all the hard work and all the training and all the things I had to do to get to that point to say I can do this. Let me be brave and win this.
Awesome. And you received two gold medals. And for those of you just listening to the audio podcast, go check out the video on YouTube. And I believe you're wearing one of the medals, right?
I'm wearing two of the medals, two of the gold medals that I got.
Awesome. I'm gonna put you full screen so our viewers can see the two gold medals that you received. And what was that competition like when you received those two gold medals?
I would say it was hard work and just pushing and kept pushing until you got to the snow, but also pushing until you got to the end. And that's when it like really became real, is after pushing and after getting to the end of that, to the line saying I can finish it and actually did it. And that was a amazing, totally out of this world feeling for me because I never felt that before. So that was like kind of new to feel different about winning the 2 goals and perseverance and doing the hard work.
Awesome, awesome, and yeah, I'm sure, and especially competing against other athletes in other countries and at all different levels. And was what were some of the challenges that you faced during your training, and how did you work to overcome some of those?
By having coaches who push you to the point of saying, you can do this, but it's going to be hard, but you can push yourself to do it and not give up. Um, and learning the different terrains and figuring out along the way.
Awesome, awesome. Are there any other moments or any other memorable moments from your experience at the Water Winter Games, whether it's the competition or any other moments
I
from
think
meeting other athletes?
seeing my parents, but also seeing the 2 goals was like the highlight of the moment.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, that definitely, and I'm sure tons of listeners will. Tons of people will applaud for you, and even when you came home to, yeah. Um, so moving into for a lot of us athletes, we overcome um, obstacles, and Special Olympics has been a big part in helping you to overcome personal obstacles. Can you share a challenge that you faced and how Special Olympics has helped you to navigate it?
It helped me um, s- try new things. It helped me meet new people. It helped me go to different places, to explore different places, to experience.
Awesome, awesome. Uh, and and there's a lot of life lessons that we can learn from our experience of competing in Special Olympics. So what are some of the life lessons that you've learned through um, both at the local level in Florida, but then also from your experience at the Water Winter Games that you've learned from being part of Special uh,
Um, I would say getting, I would say getting through the hard parts. I would say it helped me push through my reasoning skills. It helped me um it helped me explore. It helped me do things that I thought I would normally do.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And you mentioned in your bio that I saw on Special Olympics USA website that you take great pride in your ability to try new things. Can you talk about how that mindset has helped you both in sports in Special Olympics and in your everyday life?
It does. It helps me try new things out of my comfort zone, and it helps me with the challenges that I have and face. It helps me um, not be afraid to take risks, basically,
Awesome.
not chicken out.
Yeah. Awesome, awesome. And you've got a lot of hobbies and interests outside of Special Olympics. So outside of skiing, you have a lot of hobbies like reading, exercising, and singing. How do you balance your interests with your training?
Before I get to start, I will usually sing like a calypso or reggae song to calm me down because that helps me calm my nerves and kind of make me be in a centered place where I can be silent but also concentrate on the tasks I need to do.
Awesome. And when you were competing at the World Winter Games, did you use a lot of those common techniques
Yes.
to help you in your competition?
Yes, I did.
Awesome. Awesome. So you also enjoy volunteering with Special Olympics and at your former school. How important is giving back to your community for you, and what do you enjoy most about volunteering?
My mom caters. My mom does Special Olympics for catering. So
Mhm.
I love to help people, and it gives me joy to help people and just not not just passing food, but also giving back because I like giving back to people because it gives me pride and joy and happiness to see their faces.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. You also work at the Pelk Summit Retirement Facility as a solver. How has your job shaped you, and do you think it's helped to build skills that translate to your athletic and personal growth?
It helped me. It helped me meet new people. It helped me expand my horizon. It makes me more. It made me more brave to do things. It taught me to be fearless. It taught me to
Awesome,
take risks
awesome,
and making me know that I can tell myself I can do this. Um I can work, I can push myself.
awesome, awesome. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of your training, competition, Special Olympics definitely helps with your job, and I'm sure that they will when you got back from Italy. I'm sure that they were all excited to hear about your experience over there.
Yes, the resident was very happy. They said they knew I was going to get the gold, but I didn't feel that I was going to get it until I realized when you're on a different kind of stage, it's a different kind of feeling. So for me getting the gold and realizing yes, I didn't win the gold, but it it brought back, that's when it hit me and you're like, oh my God, this is actually happening and it's actually real.
Awesome, awesome. Well, we're going to take one final break. When we come back, we'll get into some final thoughts and some advice, and a few fun questions to wrap up our time together on the Special Chronicles podcast. So we've got some final advice for some younger athletes and some final messages with Kellie, who competed with Special Olympics USA in Alpine skiing at the World Winter Games in Turin this past March 2025. So we'll be back after a short break right here on specialchronicles.com. To let you know that this episode is also brought to you by the ComEd Energy Force Ambassador Program, the country's first energy and solar efficiency education program designed for and taught by people with disabilities. Learn more at specialchronicles.com/ComEd. That's specialchronicles.com/ComEd. And this episode is brought to you by United Airlines Bridge Disability Business Resource Group, connecting people of all abilities, including hiring Special Olympics athletes like myself as employees. Learn more on United's commitment to disability inclusion for employment and travel at specialchronicles.com/United, specialchronicles.com/United. And as we get to some final thoughts here, um, for a lot of us athletes, we have goals that we try to achieve in our competition and in our everyday life. So, what are some of your goals now after the World Winter Games? Because that there was such a big milestone athletically to compete at the World Games, and so now as we look to the future, what are some of your goals now in Special
I want to
Olympics?
try snow. I want to try snowboarding and do another Special Olympic commercial and make people more aware of people with disability or with special needs, that they can do normal stuff like a human being.
Awesome, awesome. Well, with trying when you said that you went from swimming to alpine skiing, and so I'm sure trying a new sport will probably have new challenges, but if able to get two gold medals at the World Games, I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun to try a new sport. Um, there's a lot of young athletes with intellectual disabilities that look up to um, yourself, to myself, and a lot of us um, that have been competing for many years. So, do you have any advice for young athletes with intellectual disabilities who are looking to get involved in Special Olympics, especially, I'm sure, hearing your story on this episode of where you've gone to now receiving two gold medals at the Winter Games. I'm sure a lot of young athletes will be looking to you. So, do you have any advice for them?
I would say push yourself to do the hard stuff, even though it's scary. Try it, and always have a goal in mind.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Great advice. Finally, what message would you be before we get to a few fun questions? What message would you like to share with people who may be watching you compete or have followed your journey and saw how well you did at the World Winter Games? What message would you like to share with people, especially if there's somebody who might not be that who might not know a lot about Special Olympics? What message do you have for them?
I would say um, working hard, determination, persistence, um, trying new things, not failing, not giving up, telling yourself you can do this, even though it's difficult and hard, you will overcome it, you will face it,
Awesome.
and just try your hardest.
Awesome, awesome. And now for a few fun questions before we wrap up and let you get back to the rest of your day. As you said earlier, we know that you love to sing. What's your go-to song when you're feeling extra motivated, and maybe you even use that when you were competing in Italy? And what's your favorite go-to song to get you motivated?
I would say like I would say Trini to the bone. Oh, or One Love Bob Marley.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So if our listeners are looking for a good song to get motivated, you all can go to Spotify or Apple Music or YouTube and find those songs. If you were to describe your Special Olympics experience in one word, what would that be
It
and why?
was life changing, amazing.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm sure definitely, especially getting two gold medals at the World Winter Games. I'm sure it's definitely been very life changing. And when you're not skiing or training, what's your ideal way to unwind and to relax? Is it listening to music, or what? What's your?
I would say watching Korean shows or reading a book in a quiet place.
Awesome. And before we get to the final question, the past 25 minutes, past half hour has flown by. But do you have any final thoughts on your overall experience, whether it's on this podcast, your overall experience at the World Winter Games, to share with our listeners?
I think the podcast was great, and thank you for inviting me to do the podcast.
Awesome. Yeah, it's always empowering to talk with fellow athletes and Special Olympics, because we each have different stories, and our listeners can learn and be empowered by hearing each of our stories, whether we're competing at the local level, the regional, national level, or like how you shared today, at the international level. We got one final question, and to introduce that, we've got a bumper. So let's go ahead and play that bumper to introduce that final question.
We're not just athletes.
We are the ambassadors of an uprising.
Peaceful protesters.
In a rebellion against anyone
who has a fear of difference.
Difference.
Our demands are
Equality.
Dignity.
And the recognition of our
Shared humanity. We will not stop.
or accept anything less.
Today, our world is
More divided than ever.
And coming together has never been more urgent.
The revolution.
It's inclusion.
Find out more at jointherevolution.org.
Ever since I attended the 2019 World Games in Abu Dhabi, I've been concluding with one final question, and we don't just want our listeners to, well, of course we want our listeners to listen, but we don't just want our listeners to listen to this podcast, but we want our listeners to bringing inclusion into their lives, bringing inclusion into their communities, workplaces, schools, and in society overall. And this final question will help our listeners to take action and to bring inclusion. And so, what does inclusion mean to you?
Is being treated as an equal and not being discriminated or being pushed away because we're different. We're not the same.
Awesome. I love that. That's a powerful message to conclude on. And for all of you listening in, we got a few final plugs to mention on this episode. You can shop our merchandise store. Our Disabled Voices Matter merch. We have t-shirts, hoodies, coffee mugs. 60% of the profits will go back to Special Chronicles. You can visit specialchronicles.com/shop. And tap that follow button. We got new episodes, especially on this podcast series. Over the next couple months, we have a series where we're recapping the World Winter Games in Turin. You can go back on this episode and hear from Lou, the Chief of Sport and Competition, as well as Grace Payne, a Southern Tribal Global Messenger, an athlete who also competed in Alpine skiing, an athlete who competed in snowshoeing, a snowshoeing coach. A couple of athletes competed in dance sport, and also coming up, tap that follow button and subscribe to this podcast, because coming up after this episode with you, Kellie Mui, we'll be hearing about the Global Youth Leadership Summit, also the Global Coalition for Inclusion from one of the sponsors, United Airlines, as well as a volunteer and board member for Special Olympics. So all those episodes will be coming up on this podcast. So subscribe and follow on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast, so you don't miss these exciting episodes. Subscribe to our newsletter as well. We can find all those links on specialchronicles.com. Thank you again, Kellie, Marie, for taking the time to come on the Special Chronicles podcast, and it was fun and a joy to talk with you.
Thank you. I enjoyed talking to you too.
And until next week, everyone, we remember we'll choose to include, and we'll talk to you next week right here on specialchronicles.com.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Special Chronicles podcast. Our podcast was produced by Daniel Smukowski on the Special Chronicles Network. Follow Special Chronicles on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Subscribe, rate, and review Special Chronicles on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Our website, specialchronicles.com, where you can stream our archives of over 500 episodes absolutely for free. Also, there's a list of our favorites, original series, award-winning columns, and blogs. And sign up for our newsletter to receive exclusive bonus content delivered to your inbox. Again, specialchronicles.com. Special Chronicles is hosted by Podbean Podcast Hosting. Our live streams are powered by StreamYard. Thanks, as always, to our business manager, Adam Smukowski, who always encourages us to never give up. I'm Daniel Smukowski, back next week with more stories.
Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.